Good evening, everyone. This is the Sam Oxford Jr. Show, and it's been a while since I've been on. So a number of you have been asking what in the world I'm doing. So anyway, we're back tonight with one of the stars of NHRA Top Fuel, and he's the tuner for Clay Millican, and I know all of you that follow drag racing has got to have seen him and maybe even interviewed him. So anyway, Jim Oberhofer. I know I didn't get that exactly right. Oberhofer.
Yeah, you got it right, Sam. But that's why we just say Jimmo. Just makes
Jimmo. There you go. That's as bad as me. My name. Somebody never pronounce it right. So anyway, great to have you here tonight. I know you've been busy on the circuit there, going everywhere in the world. So let's see. You last run at Vegas, right?
Yeah, we were in Vegas this past weekend at the Vegas four wide nationals.
Wide.
So that's four wide fun, and then we have this weekend off, and then next week we have the Charlotte four wide races. So it's nice that we get the four wides done.
Clay like those.
Yeah, he's fine with Actually, none of us really mind it so much. I think initially it was a challenge because not everybody knew where they were at on the track. So like some drivers, like they would think they were pre-staged, but they weren't. And, so there's always like a lot of motors running a long time, but I'll tell you what, like last couple of years, it's really gone pretty smooth.
Yeah. It looks like it's vastly improved since the first
absolutely.
Couple of years.
They do a good job with the racetracks. That's important because with four lanes, boy, you can have four completely different racetracks. But the nice thing is with the Bruton Smith tracks, they do a really nice job with the racing surfaces, and they make sure try to make sure all four lanes are as equal as they can be.
Sure. Well, that's the thing about it, is trying to get all four of them the same. And we used to run years ago. We used to run in York, Pennsylvania, and we did four lanes with two trees, but it was a killer motor deal. I tell you, we could burn an engine down trying to get everybody in line. And the only thing you had to look all the way over to the left or all the way over to the right, see who's staged. So, and I still think that's a bit of an issue, but they seem to get it. So that's it's after a while, they can do it. And they know how to do it. They're pros, so that's great. While we're at that subject of teams and all that good stuff, Rick Ware is the owner of these outfits. Is that correct?
Yeah, Rick Ware. He's our team owner, and he's he's new to the ownership role of NHRA drag racing. He's owned Clay's team now for probably about a year and a half or so, but he's a lifelong racer, a lifelong drag racing fan. Growing up out in Southern California and going to Orange County and all those places, and I guess he made his first trip down the drag strip. I think he told me it was either Orange County or Riverside. He took like a little go-kart or something down there, but he's a fantastic guy, just a bundle of energy, loves racing, loves drag racing, and we couldn't be more fortunate than to have Rick as our team owner.
Right. Yeah. And he also has a NASCAR team, also an IndyCar team. Is that correct?
Yeah, he has two Cup cars. He's got Justin Haley. He drives one of them. That's the 51 car. And then the 15 car is Kaz Gralla. He drives it quite a bit. And then I believe his son, Cody Ware, is going to do some racing as well this year in it. And
I think he's on
pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think he's on for this weekend.
It's exciting to be part of something like that. To be part of a team that has a NASCAR team, and I've learned a tremendous amount from Rick Ware and our team president, Robbie Benton, about the inner workings of NASCAR. And, I think it's, it helps me become a more well-educated person,
Oh
not just
yeah,
drag racing, but about racing in general.
right. Yeah, it's and I'm sure the IndyCar team, that's a totally different animal yet, with those cars.
I'm not sure if Rick's running that this year or not. I know last year they raced it with Stingray Rob
Yeah,
driving, and and that's a whole nother animal in itself, But it's it's pretty cool, And Rick was in, he's got a flat track motorcycle team. Um, he had a World Supercross team. Doing some IMSA stuff, and of course, with Rick, everything is based on sponsorships that
yeah,
he has and what he can put together, and it's we're very fortunate, to have Parts Plus and uh, you know as the major sponsor on Clay's car, and then Rick works super hard to try to get other sponsors involved and try to cross promote, whether it's with the NASCAR team or flat
sure.
track team, and it's really cool to see.
That's amazing to have all those teams. Keeping track of it's probably amazing. What's it cost to run a top fuel car for a year
Well,
or a season?
yeah, I mean, on the lower end of the spectrum, I believe there's 13 cars out there that are full-time cars that
Yeah,
go to all the races. I would say, like, lower end of the spectrum, you're probably looking at like 2.5 million a year,
uh,
and some of the bigger teams, the more well-funded teams, they're probably pushing that $4 to $5 million a year range.
wow, that's a that's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, a
but that's
lot
what
of
it
it
takes.
is. Yeah, and a lot of it is just the teams that probably spend more money. They just have more depth, more
Yeah,
inventory of,
right.
you know, blocks, cylinder heads, things like that. Where, teams like ours, we're still on the lower end of the spectrum, and Rick, does whatever he can to give us what we need to make sure when we're at the race that weekend, we have everything
Right.
to compete. But to some of the teams, they've got clutch disc, ready for next year.
Yeah.
They've got blocks that they may not even run this year, cylinder
Yeah.
heads. So
Exactly.
it's I still feel we can be competitive with the lower budget,
Right.
because when you go up to race, you've only got one engine, one car, and everything. So you just make the
Exactly.
best out of what you have.
How many engines would you carry on a weekend?
So when we left we kind of had like a mini Western swing. We went to Pomona, then we had Easter weekend off, and then we had Phoenix and Las Vegas. We left the shop, and we had like 9 short blocks with us, plus what was in the car,
Yeah.
and we had about that many cylinder heads, sets of cylinder heads,
Sure.
um, 3 superchargers, injectors and clutches and stuff. So, yeah, would we love to carry more with us? Absolutely. But sometimes you need that space to carry all that. And, we have, some teams have 2 trailers that are specifically, your race trailer and then your parts trailer that's attached
Right.
to it. Well, we have our race trailer, and then we have a half hospitality, half parts trailer. So we're
Right.
limited on space, about how
Sure.
much stuff we can take. But, we try to have a good rotation of parts. We have a great relationship with PME Engines here in Mooresville, North Carolina. Dennis
Right.
Borum, he's the owner of it, and he does all of our repairs on our block cylinder heads and stuff. So when we leave to go to a race, we're always leaving something behind, stuff that he's working on or in the process of working on, whether it's cylinder heads or blocks or another project that we have. So it's, but been very, very good to have Dennis in our back pocket for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you, it's keeping all that together and keeping. I've seen the one video. I guess I don't even know what it was on about, other than I've seen one that's connecting rods that were pounded 1,000 shorter, uh, and trying to match them up with some other connecting rods to make them equal. I don't know. That sounds like awfully close there.
Yeah, it's I tell people all the time, and when you think about, a top fuel dragster engine or a nitro funny car engine, the thing is constantly trying to shove the crankshaft on the ground
Yeah.
all the time. And, when you're making, 11, 12,000 horsepower in one of these things, it takes its toll on some of those consumable parts. And, connecting rods is definitely one of those, connecting rods and pistons. And, sometimes, like probably like during the summer months when we're not running the engine quite so hard, we'll get, anywhere from 6 to 8 runs out of a connecting rod. But as we get later into the season and the racetracks get better and you're pushing things a lot harder, well, that life of that connecting rod and piston goes down significantly to where maybe you're only getting 2 to 4 runs out of a connecting rod. So I give a lot of credit to the manufacturers out there that are constantly trying to build a better part. And, and that's something that we're, always looking at is like, what's the latest, greatest thing that, allows you to turn that knob a little bit more to the right and, get you some more runs out of it. But, there's that old saying, how do you make $1 million going top fuel racing or funny car racing? Is you start with 10.
Right.
So it's definitely not a cheap sport, but I've been told a few times that like we don't spend nowhere near what a cup car spends.
Oh, I
And
know.
I know those things are on a whole nother level. And then you got Formula One, which is out of control.
Exactly. With Andretti's buying a Formula One team was what was it, $100 million to get into Formula One? I'm like,
yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not cheap.
yeah, I think
we
they
can run a
divide.
lot of top fuel cars for that.
Right, exactly.
Have more fun, I think.
Right, yeah. But I think they divide the purse up among the teams. I don't know exactly how it works, but I
Yeah,
hear.
they're pretty quiet about all that over there. You
Yeah,
never
they
know.
don't keep. It's not something they
Anybody knows.
broadcast, But I never heard of such a thing. But maybe it works. I don't know. They travel all over the world, so I guess they're doing something right somewhere. Time. So, anyway, not for me. I do subscribe to the channel with Ruco and get the races, but I seldom look at it. I pay for it. I seldom look at it. So
I like watching Formula One just from the it's quite the spectacle. It's like
that's what
every
it is.
place they go, it's like it's just an amazing place and the facility's amazing and I really like their commentary,
Yes.
during the race. It seems pretty educational,
Right.
on a lot of that. And it's an event. I think the racing in NASCAR is a lot closer, a lot better. But Formula One, it's like, boy, if Max Verstappen has the lead, forget it. It's over.
Yeah, that's right. He's already won.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing they do, and I think it's very good, is they analyze, and they have a section there of people that take care of describing of how these pieces work, especially the undercar draft or the hold it to the ground deal. and they did a very a good analysis that I seen a few months back of how it works and exactly how it works, and it was really quite interesting. I wish NASCAR would do that and not just say, hey, it's got this underneath the car. But it's quite engineering wise. It's quite amazing, really, of what they do there and how the
Yeah,
wheels and the tires and everything is crazy. But well, I guess our fans are going to kick our butt for getting off track here.
probably right.
But anyway, let's get it. How did you get started, Jim?
Well, I was pretty much born into it. My dad, we call him Davo. He
There
raced
you go.
back on the East Coast. He was from New Jersey, northern New Jersey,
Yeah.
Bergen County. He was actually born in the city, in New York City, and then my grandma and grandpa, they made the move to the suburbs of New Jersey to get out of the city. But
Yeah.
my dad, he started messing with cars when he was a teenager, and he had some bad feet, which really kept him from going to the military. My uncle, my dad's brother, my
Right.
Uncle Ray, he was in the Navy, and they wouldn't let my dad go in because he had pretty messed up feet. So he really got interested in drag racing, and as a teenager, and in the 60s, like the late 60s, he had a junior fuel car, which was, it ran on nitromethane, but it didn't have a blower on it. It was like a small
Yeah.
black Chevy, and I think they ran like 799 at 199 miles an hour with that car way
Right.
back when, and then eventually he made the move to Top Fuel with some partners, guy by the name of Frank Jodis and Jim Grace, and then my dad. They started the Pleasure Seekers Top Fuel team
Right.
on the East Coast. They ran out of Division One back then, and Jim Grace was the driver, and I believe they kept the car at Frank Jodis's house. They were all from New Jersey,
Yeah.
and they first started with a front engine Top Fuel car, and then they made the switch to the rear engine car. After Gartlett's brought his out, and they ran that car up until I believe 1975. I think the last time they ran it, it went off the end of the track at Columbus, back then.
Yeah.
And, I think Frank, and my dad and Jim just decided, all right, this is enough. I think Frank was kind of over it more, and Frank was kind of the main guy. And,
Right.
but my dad, he still had the itch to go Top Fuel racing. So he, 1976, partnered up with a team that was already in existence. It was called Nirvana. A guy by the name of Hank Endries drove the car. Chip Brown was one of the owners of the car and worked on the car, and a guy by the name of Bill Clark, who was the older of all of them. And they brought my dad in, and my dad went racing with them, and it was a good time. We went, 1976, 77, us kids, my brother and I, my sister, and then, Chip's son and, Hank's kids and all that. We would all go to these races up and down the East Coast. We weren't allowed to go to New Jersey because we weren't old enough to get in the pits back then.
Yeah.
You had to be
Right.
18. So we did a lot of races, like going to Epping, New Hampshire, Maryland International Dragway, Maple Grove.
Yeah.
We go out on the tracks, out on Long Island and stuff. And oddly enough, I think we only went to maybe one or two Englishtown races, and my mom would sit, we'd have to sit on the spectator side. My mom would have to watch out for myself and my brother and my sister, and we'd wait all day, for my dad's car to run.
Yeah.
And it was a long day, and my mom was a trooper sitting on the grandstands, because I was the summer nationals in the middle of summer, and it was pretty warm back then.
Yeah.
But it was fun. We enjoyed it and got to see so many of the greats of drag racing, race back then. Jungle Jim was, I always thought, was like the coolest thing, because I'm like, oh, he's got the same first name I do, and I always thought he was the coolest of them all. And I was a fan of Jungle Jim's, but Big Daddy Don Gartlett's and Don the Snake Perdome and Raymond Beadle, the Blue Max, who I got to know after my mom and dad, we moved to Texas, Dallas, in late 1977, and got to know all about the Blue Max, and meet Raymond Beadle and Dale Emery, the crew chief, and Waterbed Fred and D Gant. I mean, it was an awesome deal. It really was.
Yeah, I bet it was. For starting out at our further up the ladder you went, that's cool. So and of course Raymond Beadle was obviously king of the hill there for a while. So
yeah, he was ahead of his time, and I'll never forget when he opened his shop, his funny car shop in Dallas, Texas. It was literally like around the corner from my dad's paint and body shop. My dad's paint and body shop was almost like right next door to Chaparral Trailers. And man, that was cool, because there was so many cool people that went in and out of that place. And and back before I can actually drive a car, it was always neat when my dad would say, "Oh, we're going to go by the Blue Max shop," and I just remember going to that shop, and everything was spotless, and you could eat off the floor in this place.
Yeah.
And it was just the coolest place ever. And and Raymond Beadle, he was like such a promoter of the Blue Max and the things they did back then to get exposure and stuff. It was crazy, and stuff you probably can't talk about, but it was quite a time, and when I started, when I got my driver's license, and I would always drive by the Blue Max shop, because there was always somebody else there too, so you might see Don Perdome's rig there, or you could see, any, Kenny Bernstein's. I mean, there was just so many big names that would, if they were in Dallas, well, hey, we're going to go park at the Blue Max shop. Or, I remember in my dad's shop, I remember working on a car, and all of a sudden I see this guy walking into our shop, walking into the parking lot, and it was Big Daddy Don Gartlett. So I'm like, whoa, that is cool stuff. So it was cool, it was such a cool time.
I bet it was. It's, at that age and time and all, it'd be, geez, probably unbelievable, really.
Yeah, it was. And and through that's how I met Scott Coletta. He used to come down to Chaparral Trailers quite a bit, because his dad Connie was always buying a new trailer. And so they were always getting a new Chaparral trailer,
right?
And then they built their first, the first ground up semi that they bought. Oh God, I think that was 85 or 86, something like that. And just a really neat time meeting Scott, and we hit it off real well, and became friends and stuff. And way back then, I think it was 83 was the first time I met Scott. And, we went, my dad took us to the Cajun Nationals in Baton Rouge, and my dad just had us start cleaning parts. And Scott's like, "What are you guys doing?" And we're just cleaning parts. My dad said to, "Okay, that's good." And it was really cool, getting to meet Scott back then. And then, like, knowing, about Connie Coletta, you
Yeah.
know, in the old days and stuff. But when I was going to the races in the 70s, Connie didn't drive a whole lot. He was with, racing with Shirley Muldowney at the time.
Yeah.
So you didn't hear about Connie so much, but I knew who he was. But
Right.
but then getting to know him, even before I went to work for him, and watching him race, and realizing what a legend he was, and then obviously having the opportunity to work for him for almost 31 years was amazing.
Right? Wow.
To work for a legend of the sport, somebody who was there at the when the sport started, basically, and has continuously stayed in it for all those years. And so I was really blessed, to work for Connie, and then guys like Dick LaHaye, that came into the mix when Connie hired Dick LaHaye. Frank Bradley, even though he was there for a short amount of time, Maynard Yanks, and then Ed the Ace McCullough, just an awesome guy, that learned a lot from, and I'll never forget at the end of the 1999 season, things were kind of in flux with Coletta Motorsports about, well, what are we doing? Connie had sold his airline and all these things, and Ace was no longer part of the team, and a few people had left, and Connie came to me, says, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to learn to be a crew chief someday. I want to take that next step. And he's like, okay, I want to teach you. And I was like, okay, it doesn't get no better than this. So, he gave me the opportunity of a lifetime, and it was neat, to watch Connie, like in the year 2000, like he didn't have his air cargo company, and he was like really focused on drag racing.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, man, this is probably what it would be like working with him back in the 50s and 60s, because Connie was always thinking and always trying to, come up with a better mousetrap. And it was neat. I remember, just in a short amount of time from 2000 to 2013, I think we changed camshaft profiles like 14, 15 times or something. Like it was crazy. And, some things would work good and some wouldn't. And, but it was an awesome learning experience for me. And then, then we brought in, as we grew the team, we brought in some really great people, Ron Tobler, was great. And then, having guys like, Rob Flynn there, Nicky Bonifani, and Tommy Delago and Todd Smith and Donnie Bender, just all these great people. And, and then my brother, getting to see my brother grow and become a crew chief as well, was very, very cool. So very, very fortunate.
Connie's brought, the airplane business has really, I don't know how he got started again in it, but that's really booming. I can't even imagine how much business
he is absolutely an amazing businessman, and he has no fear whatsoever. And I think that's why he's so successful, because he is willing to take chances that a lot of people wouldn't take. And I remember when he actually came to me in August of 2000, and we sat down and we talked, and August of 2001. And he had bought his airline back about a year prior. So he bought the airline back and was getting it going, and things were kind of slow. And he sat down and he told me, he goes, I don't know. He goes, things are pretty slow, and if things don't pick up, I might have to consider, shutting the airline down, the cargo company down. And he goes, if we do that, then, I don't know what our racing program is going to look like. He goes, I've got to live too. And, I can't spend all my money trying to, make this air cargo company go, because that's a lot of money. And,
Oh, geez.
to keep those things in the air and all that. But, I remember when 9/11 happened, and I remember how proud I was knowing that Connie had the only basically commercial airliner in the flying in the United States, and he was flying relief supplies. I believe they picked him up in LA, and I think they flew him into Philadelphia is where it was, and I believe he had an escort, like a military escort, and they landed in Philadelphia, and then they offloaded the planes, and then they took stuff to New York City, obviously, and then took stuff to Washington, D.C. And, and after that, Connie's business really, really took off. And, the neat thing about Connie is he's not like all glitz and glamour. Like he focuses, like if he's going to invest money in it, it's going to be about having the right equipment, the right airplanes, and it wasn't about having the coolest corporate office or anything like that. It was about having planes, having people, and he was very adamant about people, being your most important assets, and he's done very well. And and Doug Coletta, obviously, he's like Connie, he's got his own air cargo company, and he's doing very well.
Yeah.
And it's really neat to see, and it's really neat to see how Connie's grown his business, and then how Doug's grown his. And a lot of people don't realize, that Doug's got a very successful air cargo company as well.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I had not followed Connie too much back in the early 70s or 70s, but and then I picked up a newspaper one day, and I see one of his planes went down not too far from here, maybe some part of the upper part of, not in the bay, but upper part of Chesapeake Bay area. I believe one went cargo, of course, cargo fine. But yeah, that happened. And then I thought, well, my God, I guess he's back in the business here, So
yeah,
he's
got an awesome operation, and his maintenance facilities up in Oscoda, Michigan, and he got that through the governor of Michigan, I believe it was. There was a Wirt Smith Air Force Base up there, and they had shut it down. The government shut it down, and they made a deal with Connie that, hey, there's a lot of talented people up here that don't have jobs. If you'll move your maintenance facility here, we'll help with all that. And man, that is quite a place up there. I think they've got these 3 massive hangars that they can pull a whole 747 in and close the door, because it does get pretty cold up there in the winter. But his like his engine shop that he has for doing all the GE engines, I believe it is. It's unbelievable, the equipment that they have. And Connie, he is the king of finding great equipment to work on that stuff. Right. And he's really got a top-notch operation up there. He really does.
I seen where he was making parts for 747s. That
they make a lot of
stuff anywhere else or something. But so that was quite a big deal, I guess, that making money for 747 parts.
Well, he wanted to control his own destiny.
Yeah.
And So I don't know what the exact number is, but like the percentage of stuff that they do in house, it's pretty incredible. They have their own flight simulators.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They can do anything up there. Less building the airplane, I guess, but he's always been that way. He wanted to control his own destiny, and when I was there working for him, we tried to do the same thing with his racing program as well, which made it nice.
Well, it's amazing thing, because when I first seen Connie, I mean, he's one of those guys. At that time, he wasn't a sharp dresser, and he wasn't, he didn't have all the the driving suits, fancy stuff, and all that. He just sort of you would think, well, he don't have a dime to his name, but oh, how he fooled all of us.
Yeah, no, he's I talk to him every time if he's on his golf cart or whatever, I'll go up and shoot the shit with him or whatever, and
Right.
he's as sharp as a tack still, and he's definitely in my opinion, probably the one of the greatest drag racers of all time. There's so many things that he's done and done for people and stuff, and he doesn't ask for applause or pats on the
Right.
back or anything
Yeah.
like that. He's just a good-hearted guy who will do a lot of great things for a lot of people, and myself included. So it was definitely an honor to work for him for all those years.
So once you finished up there, then did you come into Rick Ware's operation, or what was in between there?
Oh, when I left Coletta's, I was kind of burnt out, and I thought about I wanted to start my own business, and
Yeah.
which I did, and I had bought a franchise from Victory Lane Quick Oil Change,
Yeah.
and and I started an oil change shop in Plano, Texas, and real excited about everything, but literally, like, I would say less than 3 months after we opened the doors, here came COVID, and
Yeah.
and that was a tough pill to
Yeah.
swallow.
Sure.
You know, before that, I was Paul Lee had called me up, and Paul was one of my friends, and he was talking about wanting to start his own funny car team and doing 10 races a year, and I thought, yeah, I would like to do that and do that with Paul, and it'd be 10 races a year, and I could make it work with having the business and all
Yeah.
that. So in 2018, we worked on putting Paul's car together. At the same time, I was also a consultant for Clay Millican's car. At the time, it was owned by Doug Stringer, and Doug Stringer and Paul Lee and Clay, they all kind of had like a marketing alliance that they were all kind of working together on sponsors and
Right.
things like that. And so it was kind of a good deal, when I would come and I would help consult with Clay's car and work with Mike Clover back then, and and then when I was off, we'd go work on putting Paul's funny car together, and we bought a turnkey operation basically from Don Schumacher Racing for
Yeah.
Paul's car, and then
Right.
Ron Tobler, was gracious enough to. He was pretty adamant about wanting to help me and stuff, because we had a great relationship working together at Coletta's for a few years, and so it was nice that he was able to do that for me. I knew what our funny car stuff was, at Coletta's. But, we didn't have access to that. If we could have, bought something from them, we would have, but they didn't have enough stuff to part with at the time. So Don Schumacher, who, was just an absolute great person to me. He told me, he says, Jimmo, I got whatever you need. And I said, okay. He says, just call up Todd Okahara and he'll take care of it all. And,
Take care of it.
and so they did, and it was a great experience, for me. It was fun. We did in 19, we did those 10 races and we had some pretty good success, qualifying and stuff, and won some rounds here and there, and car ran pretty good. And, and then 2020 happened and we had done the first 2 races of the year at Pomona and Phoenix. And then COVID hit as we were going to Gainesville. And, so we didn't do anything again until we came out and we did those 4 races in a row in Indianapolis. And, but it was cool. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that time. And, at the end of 2021, the bug started getting back into me because we're, watching the countdown, and I'm watching my friends, my crew chief friends and everybody there. Yeah, they're
you can't get rid of.
Yeah, they're competing, for in the countdown of the championship, and I thought, I'd like to do that again someday, and it just happened. It all coincided with me selling my oil change shop. I had a gentleman that wanted to purchase it, and we worked the deal out. And in December of 2021, I sold that, and so I felt like, all right, I've got more time where I can do this again. And then Doug Stringer called me up, and he says, hey, I want you to be the crew chief on Clay's car. And I'm like, okay, and we made a deal, and I started with them in 2022 at the Vegas 4-wide race.
Yeah.
And, I really, really enjoyed working with Doug and Clay. We didn't have a lot of funding or anything like that, but Doug was just a fun guy to work with. And I always told him, I said, man, if you were like a billionaire, you'd be the most awesome guy ever to work for. And Clay is just he's just a jewel to work with. I mean, he is.
I can imagine.
Oh, he's just a fantastic guy. Him and his wife, Donna, they're just amazing people. Yeah. And, we did, we ran pretty good, and but it was a struggle, and then along came Rick Ware, and he bought the team, and he took us to another level, and it's been a lot of fun. And last year we won Chicago, Denver, and St. Louis, and that was pretty cool for me, personally, because after I left Coletta's, I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever be part of something like that anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was always wondered, like, man, can I do this? And I only won Chicago. I'm like, yeah, we can do this,
Right.
And so then we went to Denver, and I remember I told Rick Ware over the winter that for Denver I might need some different pistons for there.
Yeah.
And he's like, really? And I said, yeah, we're going to go win that race. And I said, I usually do good up there, and I think we can do good up there. And lo and behold, we won that race. And that was probably one of the best races I've ever been part of to win, for so many reasons. My daughter was there. It was the first time she had been there all year. And to have her there, because when I won as a crew chief when Scott Coletta won that race back in 2004. You know, my daughter was there. It was pretty exciting. And
Right.
so, you know, to win that race there, and then one of my best friends in the world, Bruce Reed, who has a top fuel car over in Australia, him and his brother and his dad, Jim Reed Racing. You know, he was there with me with his now wife Kim, and it was just really special because Bruce came over to help me with the team and stuff, and it was just really, really exciting. And you know, I really enjoyed that, you know. And then Bruce, you know, he hung on, and he was there with me when we won St. Louis, and it was just really, really cool, really, really cool.
Yeah. Winning cures a lot of things.
Oh yeah, it's like, you know, Connie Coletta used to tell us, you're only as good as your last ET slip, and that's that's a fact, you know. And
Yeah.
you know, but I've been so fortunate, you know, and I've had going to Australia and racing with Bruce, and you know, with his family, because Bruce, like I said, he's like another brother to me. And then Phil Reed, his brother, same thing. And then their dad, Jim Reed, who's like the big daddy Don Gartlets of Australian drag racing. I call him my Aussie dad, and we have so much fun, you know, racing over there. And
Right.
It's cool because we've taken a lot of what we've done with Clay's car and we're applying it to their car down there. And they won a race in Perth, Australia, and then their next race they ran their personal best ET. They won a 378 down in Adelaide, and that was really, really special for them. And you know, it's cool when you have people like that in your life, and I've been fortunate. And you know, just like this year, I have, you know, Nicky Bonifani Jr., you know, with me as my co-crew chief on Clay's car. And Nicky and I, we've known each other forever. He's just an awesome guy, very intelligent guy, very smart guy, and a pure racer. And you know, to have somebody there that you've been basically friends with for 36 years, and you know, and we worked together, you know, crew members on Scott Coletta's cars in the 90s, and won championships that way. And then you know, we you know, after Scott's unfortunate accident in 2008, you know, I told Nicky, I said, you need to come home, you know, and we needed him there at that time. And you know, I talked to Connie and I said, I want Nicky back here, and he agreed, you know. And you know, he was like the best thing for us at that time, because it was a pretty, you know, low point for Coletta Motorsports losing Scott, you know, because he was such an important part of everything to us. And Nicky, he brought some smiles back to faces, and you know, he's entertaining, and you know, we worked together for, you know, until I left there at 18, and it's just awesome to have him part of this team. And you know, he's gonna help make us better, and you know, him and I, we work very, very well together, and we're excited about what the future holds for us.
That's good. That's great. When you got that camaraderie with everybody, makes a whole lot of difference, you know, and the team and the thoughts and the working together. So great.
Yes, it does.
Let me ask you one other thing, and this is more like when Clay does a burnout, okay, and you're backing him up, and that stuff's flying in your eyes. We talked about this earlier, but you must be immune to that crap or something, that you can sit there and not bother you. We're all going like, what is he, bulletproof roof or something or what, you know.
Yeah, we're kind of immune to it. I look at guys like Connie Coletta, Big Daddy Don Garlitz, and Snake and Greek and Big Jim Dunn, and they're getting up there in years and they're just fine. And
They're just
so I think Nitro does something good for you, even though
yes.
it may not appear that way. But
Right.
when Clay does his burnout and he backs up. Once we get him behind the starting line and he puts it back into forward gear, what I start doing at that time is looking at the engine idle RPM.
Yeah.
And so for us, like, we try to keep the idle at that point at like 2,650 RPM, engine RPM. And so we try to make sure it's about that. And then when after the wheelie bar set and everything, and you look across at the other car that you're racing, the
Right.
crew chief will at the time will acknowledge that he's ready to go. Then
Right.
I'll acknowledge I'm ready to go. And the last thing we do, there's like an idle a fuel enrichment screw that we open up, so
Right.
we're now putting more fuel into the engine at idle. And and then after I do that, I tell Clay it's okay for him to go in, and Clay will go in and he'll pre-stage, the other driver pre-stages, and then he'll turn the fuel pump all the way on and take his foot off the clutch and go in and stage. And if the other guy's there, then it's time to go.
That's right. Now the whenever you when it drops a hole, okay, is that just from a massive flood of fuel that going in and not firing because it's drowning it?
I mean, usually at the time it's like the air fuel ratio in that cylinder is off, and there's a number of ways that it could be off. It could be off from you don't have your engine tuned up enough, or you don't have enough load on the engine. So
Right.
let's just say you go out there and you're kind of wearing a lot of clutch at the time.
Right.
What can happen is the clutch is not as aggressive and there's not enough load. Well, then
Right.
the engine starts trying to freewheel a little bit, and it'll put a cylinder out at that time. Sometimes, like, when you see a car like drop a cylinder off the starting line,
Yeah.
it could be it's the tune-up's not enough, or there's just too much fuel going into the engine at that time. A lot of times you can look and see, like, if it's dropping the number 1 and 2 cylinder at the step. We've always looked at it, even back working with Connie Coletta, he would say we don't have enough blower on it, or maybe the blower is not as good as what it was. When it drops a cylinder out, anywhere from 1.7 to 2 seconds, kind of same thing. You can have too much fuel going in it, or not enough power going in it. But if the clutch is not aggressive enough at that time, it could drop a cylinder that way. So, for us, it's all about managing the power, the clutch, and the fuel system based on track temperature. So, obviously, if you have a 130-degree track, you're not going to run the clutch as hard as you would if the clutch or if the track temperature was 80 degrees.
Right.
And so if you're not running the clutch so hard because the track's 130 degrees, well, then you've got to slow your fuel curve down going into the engine. And you also don't have to have the enormous amount of power on a 130-degree racetrack that you would on an 80-degree racetrack. So it's just managing and, like, just making those incremental moves, moving things up and down. And always find that interesting and fun to try to accomplish.
Now, are you reading that from the when you get back from a run, or even before, during the run? Are you getting data then, or you gotta get it?
Yeah, we don't get data. We don't get data during the run.
Right.
So when we come back, we download, our race pack computer and
I got
put
you.
it up on the screen, and then
Right.
only thing we can do really with the computer is monitor things. And so after the run, the first things I'll put up right away, is the engine RPM, the drive shaft, and the fuel curve. And then after that, you start dissecting things. If it put a cylinder out, like, okay, try to figure out what cylinder dropped, based on the EGTs on the computer. Then putting up clutch pressure and linear movement and G meters and front wheel, make sure the front wheels it's not trying to wheel stand or do anything crazy like that. But yeah, there's a ton of things that we monitor. But the engine RPM and the drive shaft and the fuel curves, probably they're like the first three things that I always look at right away.
Well, that's it's quite an amazing thing how you guys got to figure it all out, and how much load to put in it, and all the different things. It's a wonder they don't go up and smoke every run. But what do you see whenever we see the going down the track on a good run and the smoke? Is that smoke, or is that nitro just giving that look at?
Like on a
Good run.
like if on a good run, like after the run, if there's smoke, coming out of the header pipes, a lot of times we all have these lubers on our superchargers. So when we get to the finish line, and close the throttle off, there's a luber that'll start, putting like an oil through the supercharger to try to cool it down. Because if you don't, most of the time you'll smoke the OD strips of the supercharger out.
Right.
So yeah, we try to get 2 to 3 runs out of a supercharger before having to refresh it. Some places you go, you have to do it every run you make.
Wow.
Some places you can get 2 runs and sometimes 3 out of a blower. It just all depends. And sometimes when you run the supercharger faster, like Denver could be pretty hard on superchargers.
Yeah.
Because we ran them so fast up there. Vegas, it's dry and you're kind of like halfway to Denver. Sometimes that can be a little hard on superchargers, but we try to do everything we can to like get things to live as long as they can, because it would be awesome if you can just leave the same supercharger on every single run, and not have to, redo it. But that just, to be as competitive as we try to be, you just don't take that chance, because you want to take it apart and look at everything and make sure it's okay.
And how much time you normally got between rounds?
Well, as the day goes on and you get closer to the final round, it gets less and less and less. But usually after first round, I would say it's about 90 minutes, and then from second round to the semis, it's about 65 minutes, and then in the final, it's like you're not even back to the trailer, and they're telling you to get up there for the final round. So it's like a little more time after first round, but boy, after that it gets close.
It's hectic. Yeah. Gosh. And I bring up the last thing here, because we're getting up on an hour here, which is good. But anyway, I don't know how many people, and I mentioned it to you before, with Cletus McFarland and that Corvette that they that you guys set up to run the Clay against this Corvette, and Clay was, I think he's supposed to, I don't know what he's supposed to wait, but I guess about uh, 3 seconds or something. I don't know. But anyway, uh, so Cletus takes off, and it was a modified Corvette. It wasn't a stock Corvette. But anyway, so Cletus takes off, and Clay said, "Well, I don't want him to get too far ahead of me." So anyway, uh, he takes off, and he comes by Cletus at some god awful mile an hour, and it cut the Corvette off. It actually turned the ignition off on the car.
Yeah.
Then it started back up. Of course, it's, all this new stuff's got those sensors, and anytime you're on a newer setup on these type of cars, the Corvette cars, the vibration will knock it out of adjustment just instantly. And but it was hilarious. If you get a chance, take a look at it. Clay had a great time with it, and I think everybody else.
No, it was pretty cool, and to be part of it. I was a little nervous about it because Clay's he's all about getting content. He tells us that all the time, and
Right.
Before that event, the Bradenton event, Donna, Clay's wife, and myself, were talking about Clay and his content, and Donna's like, "Boy, he's driving me nuts with his content." But it was pretty neat. I didn't know a whole lot about what Cletus McFarland was all about, and then
Oh my
I
God.
learned about it, over the course of the last 6 months, and then
Yeah.
and he was a really a super guy,
Oh
and
yeah.
they wanted all these crazy, we're going to put the top fuel car on this wheel dyno. I'm like, are you kidding me? And it just went on and on, and so when we had to run the Corvette, Cletus Corvette, I'm like, we need to make a statement here, and we cannot let this car beat our car. And I said, because I'll get kicked out of the Nitro tuning community if we lose to this car. So we went out and we ran a 368 at 330 at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say it was 330.
It was a good run, and it was pretty exciting. And then when Cletus came back, he brought his car back to the pit area, and he was like, "Man, that thing like shut my car off." And I go, "No way." He's like, "Yeah, it did." And I'm like, "Wow." And it was really cool because Cletus and all his guys, like, they were helping my guys disassemble the engine, and
Yeah.
they had such a great time, and it was total chaos, but it was good, and
It really was. It was absolutely
good content for Clay.
Yeah, good content. You couldn't miss that content.
No, not at all. Yeah, we had Jeff Lutz was there, and he's just a fantastic guy. Does all the Street Outlaw stuff, and him and Clay are really close.
Yeah.
And, Brent from PFI Speed, he was there, and it was just like, I'm not like a social media type guy, and YouTube channels and all this, and I'm just like, what in the world is going on here? But after I watched some of the videos afterwards, I thought,
Oh, gee.
I get it.
I laughed so hard about looking at that thing, and whenever it cut the car off, I just thought, what a hell of a thing.
Oh yeah.
But it was fun. If anyone get a chance, look at Cletus McFarland and look at his. It'll have Clay Millican. I forget how it's worded, but you'll find it. Anyway.
Yeah, it was good. It's Clay does such an amazing job with all of his.
He's a great PR
social
guy.
Media and YouTube, and he's always got his phone or his whatever going, to get content, and it's pretty hilarious.
Well, that's what sponsors want to see. It's of course about winning, but it's also about just PR work. People, they see this and see that, and it means a lot to these uh, manufacturers and sponsors and all. So
Yeah,
it's a good
yeah,
thing.
it
So
is. You've seen the change over the years. People, they want to know what your social media program looks like, and
oh
the old
yeah,
days of just putting you know branding on a car or a trailer. Yeah, it still has some teeth to it, but they want to know what your reach is. How many people that
yeah,
you're
exactly.
getting to, and Clay's worked extremely hard on building his social media program up, through his YouTube channel, and
Sure.
just done a fantastic job with that. I don't know how he keeps up with it, to be honest with you. And
I know. It's not
does an
easy.
awesome job.
It's a hard job, really. You almost got to have somebody else doing that, to take care of it. So, well, Jim O, we thoroughly enjoyed having you tonight. It it, uh, it was really we learned a lot, and I'll probably see you at Maple Grove whenever that is. I don't remember when it is, but
Yeah, September sometime. That'd be
yeah,
awesome.
exactly. So anyway, good luck on Charlotte. Yeah, next 2 weeks, I guess it is. So
Yeah. Thank you, Sam, and thanks for having me on. And it's been a joy catching up with you. It's been a long time.
no problem, and we'll meet up again sometime and see what we can dream up. So it's
Sounds
looking
good.
forward to it, buddy.
All
Thank you
right,
very
Sam.
much.
All right, you take care.
Okay, all right, and I'll see. I got to get you off of here. So, all right, thank you, Jim. All right, everyone. Next week, don't forget, I will be doing my Ruco deal for a life story, and that'll be sometime next week. I believe on the 20. I'll have to look it up. Let me look it up here real quick somewhere here. I think it's the 22nd or 23rd. Or let me get rid of it here. This part of it. Go here and well, we don't need that part. Okay, let me get here on my Facebook. I should know this, but I got so many things going on in my head. All right, let's see. All right, we're going to be Tuesday, the 23rd. So if you don't have Ruco, run out and buy one. You'll never switch over. You'll never go to cable TV again. Ruco has everything you need. Uh, there's nothing missing on it, and you can really. And if you get into YouTube, they have YouTube with no commercials. You pay a couple dollars more, but my God, it's worthless. Not worthless, worth it. So anyway, all right, guys, we shall see you next time and next Tuesday if you'd like to hear. And you can buy a Ruco if you don't have Ruco. You can buy a remote and the piece that makes it Ruco for $40. So get it on Amazon, wherever. So anyway, thank you all and great listening.